you now have a very clear action plan where you can tell the client, hey, here's my 10 steps. This is what's going to happen. This is how it's going to happen. We've actually thought about it, and you're in safe hands. We're going to take care of your home, or whatever it is that however you want to handle this. Because if you don't do anything and something, goodness forbids, happens, it's going to be a colossal mess. Welcome to the Curious Builder Podcast. I'm Mark Williams, your host. Today is Thursday. It's our Q&A day. And this was something that was kind of grim, but I'll probably laugh quite a bit because I think there's also a lot of humor in it, is what happens if you died today? What does that look like? So this weekend, I had a family friend who's been in very poor health for a long, long time. And it's really going to be a blessing here over the next week or so. And so as a family, we're planning on how to say goodbye to this person. And so I just been thinking a little bit about death. And so anyway, I walked in on Monday when I was recording this, just kind of in a funny mood. And I was basically talking to my office manager, my controller, Joel. I was like, hey, if I die, what would you do? And he's like, well, we'd finish the jobs that we have under construction. And I'm like, great, that's a great answer. That's what I would hope. But we should probably put some thought into this. And I don't think most people don't plan on dying. And anyway, it triggered basically 2 or 3 hours of me sort of thinking about this. And I thought I would do a quick 20-minute Q&A on this, and I'll talk about that in the podcast. We're going to bring on my longtime lawyer, Steve Yock. He's been on twice before, the Dirt Lawyer. He's hilarious. His episodes are amazing. If you haven't checked him out, he's quite funny. But we were having a good laugh about it. We're going to have to develop. Basically, we're going to come up with what I do, kind of the death story of Mark. Like, what'll happen? How would you execute it? How does it handle with your family? And we'll walk the whole audience an hour episode of what business owners should do. And this came up because I've had several clients over the years say, hey, if something happens to you, what happens to our build? I always just kind of said, well, my team will have a great team and they'll finish the projects that we're on and kind of go from there. And recently, while we're doing the spec home, the same conversation came up again. And so I just thought, you know what? Today is the day that I'm just going to sit down with a pen and paper without a lawyer or anybody else telling me what to do. And I'm just going to write down, like, what are the 6 things that I think should happen? Like, I could create like a little manifesto of what should happen should something bad happen to me. It could be an accident, could be hopefully it's an accident. Hopefully it's not a sniper bullet, but whatever it might be. And what does that look like? I'm sure I need to give it a lot more thought, but I just thought, well, it's fresh in my mind, I would talk about it. So number one, and this is only from the company that I'm speaking, I'm not going to talk about my personal life or family or those types of things. There is some tie in here, but this is strictly as a business owner, what happens to your business if you die? So for me, I wanted to be very clear that the clients that have entrusted us to build their home, that we would finish the home that we've started. I'm thinking, as we know in construction, things are very cyclical. You've got ups, you've got downs. A lot of our projects take 12 months to 16 months to build. So they're long build cycles. And I'm just thinking, like, no one knows these homes better than my team. If we're at rough-in phase, we've already been designing it for 6 months to a year. We've been building it for 4 or 5 months. No one is better situated than our team to finish it. And so really, they should finish it, in my opinion. So I have a small team, let's call it 3 or 4 people. And so I better pick a leader. So I guess this morning, I say, Joel, you're my controller. You're in charge of all the money anyway. Might as well make you an executor. You can sign the checks and distribute the money, pay everyone's salary, and do the draws, keep the money flowing, handle all the insurance. I mean, he kind of knows it all anyway. He does it all the time, all the way. So it's like, he's like, yeah, no problem. I'll do it. And he actually had this idea. He called it a 6-month severance bonus to incentivize your team to stay on. Because the last thing you want to do, both from your standpoint and also the client standpoint, is obviously when you have instability or you have a lack of a figurehead, like, that's a problem. So in my case, I'm going to make Joel the president. He'll be the executor of making sure everything gets finished, and kind of, you need one person sort of in charge, even though as a community, our team would obviously talk to each other. But then you have this bonus structure. How do you keep them around? So if all 3 or 4 people stay on through the duration, and that would be something I would make key, is that they have to stay for the duration to all the homes. So let's just say in this fictitious example, you've got 4 homes under construction at varying states. The whole team would have to stay till all the projects are 100% completed and the clients are moved in. Then at that point, they would all get a 6-month severance of their salary. So for an example, if they made $100,000, they would get a $50,000 bonus, which is a lot of money. And so that would be their incentive to stay on. It also then allows them, quote, 6 more months to kind of wrap things up, take some time off, find another job, something like that. I thought it'd be too complicated. Like if I died suddenly in an accident, to do an ESOP company where your employees own it is a lot more thoughtful process. And so we're not really set up that way. I think down the road, potentially, if you had like cancer or you had a long-term illness where that was something you really wanted to do, I think you have a little bit longer runway. You could design something like that. But I'm talking about just you got hit by a bus crossing the street or a sniper bullet took you out. So anyway, it was nice that my office manager and controller is the one that sort of suggested it. So it really came from them. Like, what would it take for them to stay on? Like, I don't think it matters what I think because I'm dead in this example. Like, I've got to ask them. And so I think once I write this up, I'm going to ask each one of them, what would they want? And then I think after you finish all the homes, then you would liquidate your assets. In my case, I rent, so there's no building to buy. So we're on a month to month. So I guess that's that. We're not going to keep renting it. You sell all your assets, the cameras, the trucks, the video equipment, the computers. We don't hold a lot of land, so there's really nothing to sell there. So from my standpoint, there's not a lot to liquidate, but some companies have big developments. It gets a lot messier the bigger your company is and the more that you have, obviously, to get rid of. I was also thinking of buying a 210 warranty. Obviously, in the state of Minnesota, we have a 1-2-10. And so for me, I was like, well, you might as well, the company's not going to be here to service our clients anymore. So the active ones. So we might as well you can buy obviously a backup warranty, 210 warranties. And we'd give that to all our clients, obviously, so that they had someone to take care of them and service them during that window because the company's not there anymore. I think it's the right thing to do. I was also thinking about if the house was new, usually at 1 year, we come back and do craftsmanship. Well, again, at that point, we have no employees. There's no one to service the home. And so I was floating around this idea that we would gift each client that we're actively working with, not ones that we built with previously that are still within that 10-year window, but wherever the number ends up being. And you're like, we're going to give this back to you from the company so that you could hire handyman service, that you could fix the little odds and ends. It's more than enough to take care of whatever those things might be, but it also is just kind of a gesture of goodwill. Seems like that would be a nice thing to do. And then my last one is actually my favorite one, that on April 1st of the following year after I passed, because this is very on brand for me, is that there would be a video that would be posted on our social media channels, as well as like a Christmas card at some foreign undisclosed location, like in Europe or on an island in Tahiti or something like that. And it would just be, just kidding, just to mess with them. I thought that would be sort of fun.
Lake Society magazine is Minneapolis' premier target market boutique lifestyle and design publication. It embodies the unique lifestyles and design of the Minneapolis City Lakes neighborhoods. From Lake of the Isles to Lake Harriet, it showcases the best in local design projects by both premier builders, architects, and interior designers in this area. Lake Society magazine has the look and feel of a national publication with glossy covers, high-end finishes. It's mailed directly to upper bracket single-family homeowners in the City Lakes area, and it's the perfect local coffee tabletop publication. Subscriptions can also be available through the website lakesocietymagazine.com. Additionally, publisher and founder Karen Steckel has over 27 years in the local magazine publishing industry and has a passion for high-end photography and quality graphics. Her commitment to quality, visual simplicity, and beauty are strongly reflected in her beautiful Lake Society magazine.
This episode of The Curious Builder is brought to you by Olive & Vine Socials. If you're a builder, a designer, or an architect looking to grow your brand without dancing on TikTok or spending your whole life on social media, listen up. Olive & Vine Socials specializes in Pinterest marketing, blogging, and email strategy for luxury home brands. They help you turn your beautiful work into a strategic SEO-driven content that drives real traffic and connects you with your ideal clients without burning you out. Ready to grow smarter and not harder? Visit oliveandvinesocials.com and tell them the Curious Builder sent you. Just so you know, I've been working with Alyssa over at Olive & Vine for 3 years. She helped us launch the podcast. She's helped us grow our brand at Mark Williams Custom Homes. I could not do what I've done without her help. And I'm more than happy to announce that she's our latest sponsor for the Curious Builder podcast. So anyway, those were kind of my 6 things that I want to do. And so since then, I actually took a video and I videoed it to like 5 or 6 builder friends across the country and asked them, do they have anything in place? All of them, except for one, said no. So I think this is going to actually probably be a pretty common story that most people do not have a plan in place. And the only person that did had a death scare a couple of years ago with a health ailment and really caused them to reflect and change some business operational things. So it was really caused because of that. So I would imagine that prior to that, they also didn't have anything. So I would imagine if you're listening to this and you are like the 7 people I've already polled, I'm guessing you don't have anything in place either. So anyway, I thought it'd be really interesting. So like I said, I'm going to have Steve Yacht come on and we're going to do a whole 1-hour episode, probably in about a month to 45 days from now. I'll have designed something legally for my own company that's much more official than these 6 points. I'll go through the process. Some people know what key man insurance is. Like I have on my personal side, life insurance that would help my family if I'm gone. But for the company, they call it key man insurance. So you're the key man in this example. It's me. So like there, I don't know what the policy is. We'll look into it. But basically that money would then go to the company to help. Maybe you have to hire a consultant to step in. Maybe you're a sole proprietor and you do a lot of the work. Maybe you don't have a team. Who's going to step in to handle it then? And so will that key man insurance then hire someone to take care of your clients? I think it's also, honestly, this developing this is probably one of the reasons of why I want to talk about it on the podcast is I think it's important for us to talk about. I think it's important for us to think about. I've been very comfortable talking about death my whole life, probably because my dad and I talk about it all the time. And oddly enough, last night I was tucking my daughter into bed reading a book, and we were talking about our friend Gwen, who's passing here shortly. And my 9-year-old was just like, Dad, I don't want to spend the whole time talking about this. And so we walked through that. And so it's probably just been on my mind in the background. That's is why I'm talking about it. And I just think it's important for us to at least discuss. I think not discussing it leaves the people that are behind us in a very difficult scenario. The con is, let's say you don't do this. In this case, your spouse, if you're married, has to pick up all the pieces. And so my wife is a lovely person, but she doesn't know anything about running a business. Like it would be a monumentous task for her to try to step in while she has a job and raising kids. Like she couldn't do it. So what happens? I mean, the bad scenario, and I was just talking to Steve a little bit about this. We'll talk about this more when we have our full episode on it, is at least in the state of Minnesota, I don't know what that's called, not disaster relief fund, but basically there's a fund that if your builder dies or goes out of business or whatever, that you can go to the state and say, hey, my builder died. And I think it's $75,000, so it's not a lot of money. What is that going to look like if you're building a $5 million house? 75 grand doesn't get you a lot. Now, what I don't know is all the intricate mechanics of it in terms of overbuild, underbuild, all those types of things. But the reason I think why this is important for us as entrepreneurs and business owners to talk about, I think this would be a huge selling tool. Forget doing the right thing and forget on top of it, making sure everyone has a good playbook for this is a worst case scenario. But the selling point is now with confidence, because I have had this question a number of times in my career, is if something happens to you, what will happen? And you now have a very clear action plan where you can tell the client, hey, here's my 10 steps. This is what's going to happen. This is how it's going to happen. We've actually thought about it and you're in safe hands. We're going to take care of your home or whatever it is that however you want to handle this. Because if you don't do anything and something, goodness forbids, happens, it's going to be a colossal mess. And so anyway, I just thought it was important to talk about it. Maybe this resonates with you. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's causing some concern. Maybe that's probably good, frankly. Maybe it causes you to call your lawyer and say, hey, we need to talk. We need to create a action plan for my company. So anyway, I think regardless, there'll be some benefits out of this podcast in having us think about like, what are we going to do when we're gone? You know, some people are very into their legacy and that's just not something that motivates me or I'm interested in. If someone knows you for something because you just did a good job, like I'm obviously happy with that. But like the idea that I would personally want to build a business so that I could have a legacy, for me, it's not something I'm interested in. For me and me only, it just feels vain. It feels like I'm creating something just for me, like a temple to myself. Like I'm just zero interest in that. Now, that doesn't mean I wouldn't want to build something that would be for my kids or my family because it would help their lifestyle. Like that, I'm very interested in. But for the sake of just having it, just so that my name is remembered, it's kind of like a tombstone. I'm not It doesn't really matter to me if someone knows where I'm buried. It's just a personal thing. I don't know why. Maybe it's because that's how my dad thinks. He used to always say that he didn't want a tombstone that was vertical. He wanted one that was horizontal so the mower could just mow over it. He didn't want to inconvenience anybody after he was dead, which I think was ironic because he actually inconveniences people a lot while he's alive. So that was a very gracious move on his part. But anyway, I think having a sense of humor about it is also kind of important because there's not a lot of things that are certain, but one thing is certain is we're all going to die at some point. And so I think we can acknowledge that, and that's okay. So anyway, back to the regular business planning. I think one of the things that I have been considering even over the last, call it couple of years in terms of scaling my business is, what does this business look like if I'm gone so that I could sell it? Because it turns out whether you're dead or whether you want to sell it, a lot of the thought process is the same. If you want to sell your company to somebody, it needs to operate like you're not there. Well, that's the same as death. And so I think if you're going to create an asset where your company is valuable, can somebody step in and do your job? And maybe it's not exactly what you do. No one person is 100% replaceable for all the skill sets they have, but maybe it's a couple people could do your job. For sure they could. And so I think when you think about the end of yourself in your company, whether it's death, retirement, sale, transfer of power, ESOP, whatever it is, all of this is going to make your business stronger. It's going to make it more valuable, not only to somebody else, it's going to make it more valuable to you because now you're taking ownership in that transition phase. And I'm not saying any epiphanies here. I mean, most of us know that we're going to die at some point. And if you're not, I can't believe you're hearing it for the first time on the Curious Builder podcast. And I just find that this is really helpful to think about scaling. One of the things that's been on my mind a lot and I want to bring on as a guest is, what is the point of scaling? As I've mentioned a long time before, is that in the past, I've been hesitant to hire a bunch of people because in some ways I thought more people, more problems, but that's really not accurate. The more people you have, the more freedom you create for yourself because people can do your job. And if you look back, depending on the size of your company, with every hire that you had, yes, you had to take on some management. Yes, you had to work on people skills. Yes, you had to do other things, but you also got rid of a lot of things that you don't have to do. And every time that I've hired someone, my stress level has gone down because I'm no longer doing all the things I used to have. You're sort of empowering yourself to have more freedom to do the things that you want to do. And so I think the positive view of planning for the end, it's kind of like that old quote of begin with the end in mind. If you are planning for the end of your company, you're going to make some really good steps along the way. So anyway, that's enough of death and mayhem. We can call this episode Dr. Death, and everyone can have a great day, and we'll catch you next week. We've had the podcast now for 2.5, almost 3 years now, and we have a consulting page, one-to-one consulting. You can book my time for 1 hour. Perhaps you've heard a guest where you like one of the topics. Maybe you want an introduction to some of the guests that I've had on. Perhaps you want to talk about branding or marketing or anything that we've covered on the podcast over the last 2.5 years. You can book a time at curiousbuilderpodcast.com. Thanks for tuning in to the Curious Builder Podcast. If you like this episode, do us a favor, share it with 3 other business owners. The best way that we can spread what we're doing is by word of mouth, and with your help, we can continue to help other curious builders expand their business. Please share it with your friends, like and review online, and thanks again for tuning in.